Democrat Chris Murphy has a disastrous interview with CNN Dana Bash this morning. His Trump derangement is on full display, and I believe he's out of touch with the American people because we're going to show you some polls that dropped this morning. So without further ado, let's hear what he had to say.
And the fact is this: Vladimir Putin is a brutal dictator. Russia started this war. And the entire pretext for that meeting yesterday was an attempt to rewrite history in order to sign a deal with Putin that hands Putin Ukraine. That is disastrous for U.S. national security. That means that China will be on the march. Putin may not stop. America may be at war with a nuclear power. And for what? For what?
All right. So my question to the congressman here is, does he really want this war to end? Is he looking for a ceasefire agreement? Because I've yet to hear him say those words. Right? I keep hearing World War III and we've got to fight Putin and he's a dictator. He sounds like the rest of these European countries who currently today are coming out publicly stating that they're willing to commit their own military soldiers to fight alongside Ukraine. So it sounds like to me that certain countries of NATO and Democrats like Chris Murphy, they want World War III. And I guess the question is, why? Does it have anything to do with money?
It appears as if America is trying to align itself with dictators, that Donald Trump wants us to have our closest relationships with despots all around the world, because that makes it easier for him to transition America into a kleptocratic oligarchy where Elon Musk and Donald Trump rule and steal from the American people. If we were allied with democracies, that would be harder. But if the United States' closest partner is Russia, then it makes it a lot easier for Donald Trump, Elon, and their billionaire pals to steal from the American people, to steal our data, to steal our Medicare, to steal our Medicaid in order to enrich themselves.
There's a lot there.
Now, what's fascinating about the point that he was trying to make is clearly Dana Bash didn't even understand where he was going, okay? When you start, launching these huge words and making up all these terms about what's happening, nobody understands what you're talking about, bro. I mean, if the average American watched that interview with Chris Murphy, they would think something's wrong with him. And there is something wrong with him. He has Trump derangement syndrome. And he has it so bad that he's willing to risk World War III for it. Because that's the rhetoric from the Democrats right now. You don't hear them saying, hey, we appreciate the president is trying to get a ceasefire deal under place. We appreciate that the president is actually trying to end this war because we know the last president didn't do anything. So let's play Marco Rubio. And I believe Chris Murphy should be listening to this response because I can't see how much clearer the Trump administration has been on what their intentions are and what they want to happen.
This is absurd. We are trying to end a war. You cannot end a war unless both sides come to the table, starting with the Russians. And that is the point the president has made. And we have to do whatever we can to try to bring them to the table to see if it's even possible. I'm not promising you it's possible. I'm not telling you it's 90% likely. I'm saying it's 0% likely if we don't get them to a negotiating table. And the sooner everyone grows up around here and figures out that this is a bad war that's heading in a bad direction with death and destruction and all kinds of dangers surrounding it that could spiral into a broader conflict, the sooner people grow up and realize that, I think the more progress we're going to be able to make. But the president's crystal clear. He campaigned on it, and he's going to govern on it. And that is, he is going to be a president that tries to achieve peace, and he has been very clear this is a war that would have never happened had Donald Trump been in the White House, and it needs to end, and we're going to do everything we can to end it in an enduring and sustainable and fair way.
Now, the obvious is it's no coincidence why Putin waited until Joe Biden took office to invade Ukraine in the way that he did. I mean, it was a full-scale invasion, okay? Why didn't he do that under President Trump? Oh, that's right. Democrats don't want to recognize that. It's because we had weak leadership. And now that we have strong leadership, they don't even know how to act. They don't even know how to respond to the fact that President Trump literally wants to end this war. And he's willing to do whatever it takes. And not only is he trying to end the war, but he's trying to make sure that America is tied to Ukraine economically. So we both benefit with our relationship long term. And it also deters Russia from thinking about invading Ukraine again. And of course, it's not just Democrats losing their mind. Marco Rubio had an answer for Lisa Murkowski, who criticized President Trump over that heated exchange with Zelenskyy.
Well, even some of your Republican allies are puzzled by the steps that President Trump has taken to placate Vladimir Putin. I want to bring up a post that Lisa Murkowski.
Well, which ones? What steps has the president taken to placate?
Let me show you what. Lisa
are we arming the
said,
Russians? Are we providing economic assistance to the Russians? Have we given the Russians $180 billion?
Please let me ask you the question. This is Lisa Murkowski, and here's what she says. This week started with administration officials refusing to acknowledge that Russia started the war in Ukraine. It ends with a tense and shocking conversation in the Oval Office and whispers from the White House that they may try to end all U.S. support for Ukraine. I know foreign policy is not for the faint of heart, but right now I am sick to my stomach as the administration appears to be walking away from our allies and embracing Putin, a threat to democracy and U.S. values around the world. Those are not my words. That's Senator Lisa Murkowski. What's your response?
Well, yeah, we're a free country. People have a right to these opinions. I would just say to you, what have we done to placate the Russians? The only thing we've done is say, are you guys willing to talk about peace? I say the same point. We're not giving that. We haven't given.
You voted with North Korea and Russia and Russia and Belarus in the United Nations and against our Western allies.
No, let me tell you. All right. So you know what do you know what the United Nations resolution was? I'll tell you if you want to hear what it was. It basically said this has been a horrible war. It's time for it to end. The job of the UN is to bring about peace in the world. I thought that's what the UN was created to do, to stop wars and to prevent them. And that's what the resolution did. Was it antagonistic towards the Russians? No. Back to the point. But it also didn't praise the Russians. All it said is this is a bad war. It needs to end.
Now, politically, especially in our country, it's very clear what's happening here. One side, which is the left, Democrats, and the media, they want President Trump to condemn Putin every second of every single day. And their focus is not on peace talks, ceasefire agreement, or ending this war. Their focus is on funding this war, okay, and condemning Putin, right? The individuals who lean right, conservatives, and especially people in the Trump administration, they're very clear. We want this war to end like yesterday. And we also want this rare earth mineral agreement to be signed. And Zelenskyy has been jacking around over the past 2 weeks with that agreement, knowing it's actually in the best interest. So we are now calling in question his commitment to actually accomplishing peace here. Now, just to show you an example how deranged the media is, listen to the next question that is asked of Marco Rubio.
Let me just stop you there for 1 second.
Why is it a war with no end in sight?
Why is it okay to call President Zelenskyy a dictator, but not, as you say, call Vladimir Putin names?
Listen, we've spent 3 years calling Vladimir Putin names. That's not the point now. The point that we're at now is we're trying to get the man to a table, the Russians. And I've said from the very beginning, maybe they don't want a deal either. We don't know. But we haven't talked to them in 3 years. But maybe they do. The point is, do we want to make... I would ask everybody this. If there are no negotiations, what is the alternative? Another 4 years of war, another 3 years of war, in which the United States and Europe continues to pour billions of dollars into a war in Ukraine? Is that the alternative? I've asked every foreign minister I meet with, tell me your idea of how this turns out. Most don't have a plan. A few have said, well, let's give them another year of fighting. A year from now, a year later, after another year of death, another year of destruction, then maybe Putin will be ready to negotiate at that point. That doesn't sound like a good plan to me, and it certainly is not a plan the president's on board with.
So I believe Marco Rubio has made it very clear where the Trump administration stands. I think his interview this morning was spot on. I just don't see how much clearer a person can be about what their intentions are. Everybody and their mom knows Trump wants to end this war. So why are the Democrats fighting him so much in regards to this? Can someone please answer that in the comment section below? Now, let me show you how committed they are to fighting President Trump. Take a look at this. Now, here's what Bernie Sanders also had to say today. Putin can't believe his luck. Here is Kremlin spokesman on Trump. Quote, the new administration is fast changing all foreign policy configurations. This coincides with our vision in many ways. End quote. Trump now backs dictatorship, not democracy. We cannot allow that to stand. Now, I did respond to this, by the way, and here is what I had to say. Which is in a form of a question. Just to be clear, are you saying that you don't support the only tangible way to end this war? I mean, are these people insane? Yes, they are insane, especially when you hear this clip from James Carville, who is suggesting that the president has a STD, and that's why he blew up on Zelenskyy.
What you saw is madness. And I don't mean madness like I'm mad at you, you mad at me. you didn't say this. I'm talking about madness like King George III kind of madness. And it could be a combination of being a fat fucking slob, which of course he is. It could be that he's can't sleep at night because his beached whale body can't allow the circulation it needs. I don't know. I'm not a sleep specialist or a medical doctor. But I think we should revisit the possibility of a syphilis diagnosis. And I know a lot of people that watch this channel, or some of you, or we get any number of MDs and professionals that are getting the comments, and some of you just well-informed citizens. But I don't think we can discount the fact that what we saw was mad. I'm not going to concede that I'm just asking questions. I'm just making an observation that everyone saw.
Now, before I even react to his ridiculous take there and what he was suggesting, can we just look at the numbers? Because he claims what everybody saw was the same thing, that Trump went mad and he has all these issues, right? But a poll that was taken where they asked people, hey, before they even saw the clip, what they thought about Ukraine and Trump, and then they had them watch the actual clip, and then they asked them this particular question, which is, does America agree that Zelenskyy was offensive? 62% of Americans found Zelenskyy to be offensive. So I don't know what he was looking at. And furthermore, let's look at this poll. Trump's handling of conflicts between Israel and Hamas, 53% approval rating. And when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, 51% approval rating. So it seems to me that James Carville is the one that needs to be looked at in regards to his health. Because if that's what he took away from that blow up, that President Trump apparently has syphilis, then I think he needs mental help or assistance, because he's losing some marbles there. All right. And that is my personal opinion about that. This is why I say men lie, women lie, numbers don't. The numbers overwhelmingly show that America wants this war to end, that America wants to stop funding this war, that America believes that Trump is serious about ending this war, and that Zelenskyy was offensive when he was inside the Oval Office. I don't care what you say. The numbers don't lie, but Democrats do. And Tulsi Gabbard this morning also talked about what I've been saying this entire video. If they keep jacking around, the risk here is World War III.
This is the reality of how these negotiations always occur during times of war. Neither side is going to be happy, very likely, with the outcome, but ultimately it needs to lead to peace. And that's what President Trump is so committed to, because he recognizes that the longer this goes on, not only are more Ukrainians losing their lives, but it increases the potential of this escalation towards World War III that he warned against as he sat there with Zelenskyy, saying that he's gambling with World War III, and that's not a cost that President Trump is willing to accept.
Now, I'm not just suggesting World War III here for funds and to create controversy here or scare you. What I'm saying is the writing is on the wall here if this does not come to an end. Because just today, the UK Prime Minister says his country is ready to put, quote, boots on the ground to support peace deal in Ukraine. Let me go to his direct statement here. It says, we discussed a plan today to reach a peace that is tough and fair, that Ukraine will help shape, that's backed by strength, to stop Putin coming back for more. I'm working closely with other European leaders on this, and I'm clear that the UK is ready to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to support a deal, working together with our allies, because that is the only way that peace will last. So if you're going to tell me that NATO countries are going to start putting boots on the ground to fight against Russia, they're asking for World War III at that point. So again, this is the rhetoric that NATO, European countries, and Democrats want to push. And all this time, the guy they have called Hitler and a Nazi sympathizer, etc., is wanting peace. We live in strange times, don't we? All right, so here's my question for you. I'd love for you to answer in the comments section below. Given the remarks today that you've seen from Chris Murphy, who clearly is unhinged, combine that with the UK Prime Minister, who says they are committed to putting boots on ground. Do you see the likelihood of World War III happening? Not that we want it to happen. There is a chance that it could happen because the only person who's talking about peace a ceasefire agreement and ending this war is President Trump. And it seems like the world and Democrats are against him. Let me know if you agree with that assessment. Just put your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, obviously, we started this video off with Chris Murphy and his unhinged comments, and he represents the Democratic Party and the massive mistake they're continuing to make. I think they are out of touch with the American people, and polls clearly show that. You saw a little bit of that in this video today, but there was more from yesterday. And so if you missed out on yesterday's video where I went deeper into the massive mistake that Democrats are making here, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.